Next up is Emil Draitser. If it's too short, he calls them short shorts. Directions, and it's not a simple thing. Welcome.
Thank you.
Directions. I hadn't seen him since he left Russia many years ago. Back in the old country, we had been friends for a long time. But then events separated us. Soon after my arrival in here, somebody gave me his telephone number and I called. Where are you? He asked with some anguish, though at the same time seemed happy to hear my voice. We have to see each other, he said. It's been ages. When can you come? I said I might be able to see him in a week or so. How do I get to you? I asked. What's your address? I'll give you my address in a minute, he said, but it's not so easy to find me. The directions are rather complicated. It will take a while to tell you all of them. Well, do you have a computer? I brought it with me, a Hewlett Packard. Wonderful. Are you on email? Of course I am. I gave him my address. In a few days, the following message appeared on my screen. Hi, Emil. Will you come by car or by plane? I typed back, I don't have a car. He replied instantaneously. Then fly. At the airport, take a subway, the Green Line. After a while, the subway becomes a streetcar. Get off at the 11th stop. Let's see. If you come on the late afternoon flight, you'll be at that stop around 6. Well, now go to the right. Yes, right. Now pay attention. At the northwest corner, you will see a young guy wearing jeans with a hole in the right knee. He is waiting for his girlfriend, but she won't come. Actually, she never comes. But any day I pass by at 6 o'clock, he is waiting for her with a flabby pink carnation. You will see him carrying it like a soldier with a rifle at high port. As you pass him, head toward the nearest tree. I think it's a beech. And turn to where the branches point. For some reason, it's always windy at this corner. Quite a strong wind. But that's good. It will help you. The branches will point you in the direction of a small park. When you go into the park, the first thing you will see is a pale green ball, small but surprisingly round. That's the second poem I ever wrote. The first one, wrote under a bush somewhere. I never found it, though I looked many times. Anyway, it wasn't worth it. It didn't have enough air. It was soft and the boys refused to play soccer with it. It didn't bounce either. Playing soccer with a ball like that, it's no fun. Hard on the legs too. Now, when you cross the grass, be careful. There's a spot that's all water, though you can't tell by looking at it. If you don't avoid it, you'll be up to your knees in mud. Once I stepped straight into it myself. The deception of it all, the trap, had such an effect on me that I stopped writing. But in the long run, something good came out of it. When I started again, my poems began reflecting reality. Readers began to find life in them, and publishers began accepting them. Next, you will come to a bench with a beautiful young woman on it, a brunette with fine features and a proud demeanor. She is my farmer mistress. She and my wife naturally are not acquainted. But it's pity. Under other circumstances, they would have become friends. So alike are they in character. Both hate me equally for the same reason, that they hadn't met someone a little better. Before you reach the next alley, Another woman will turn and look at you. She'll have a white kerchief tied around her head in a Slavic manner. She's my first wife. We first met right there in that park. You know what was wrong with us? She loved me too much. Literally. Once she even fainted. What's wrong, Karisha? I asked. Love, she said. Literally. I was surprised. I told her that she wasn't being true to life. If I were to put that into one of my poems, the editor would laugh it off as sentimentality does not pass the test of life. But she meant it quite seriously. She even went to a doctor in order to understand what was happening to her. She said that as a person, I was at best so-so, no great shakes. Sometimes unpleasant, even somewhat arrogant. And I didn't know what fork to use when dining in decent company. That she had had lovers who were much more skillful than I, yet, oddly enough, I had crawled under her skin like a tick, to use her words. The doctor heard her out and said, I'm consciously violating my doctor's ethics, but the Hippocratic Oath completely contradicts itself here. One article against another. And saving human life is my prime concern. So, let me tell you, dump your darling and marry me. He'll drive you to the grave. Judge for yourself. His royalties couldn't feed a cockroach, not even those that streamed into the holds of steamships from Eastern Europe as stowaways. I won't give you any problems. A woman of your beauty has a right to the best of in nutrition, in terms of both calories and variety. Besides, apart from all things that walk, fly, and crawl, your darling recognizes only the existence of verses, and usually only his own. True, he occasionally admits that a couple of other poems have right to exist. But, as a rule, the poets who wrote them are long since deceased. He can then sense something in Rilke, recognizes a sonnet or two in Shakespeare, allows an epigram of Pushkin into his Parthenon, but not you. You, with your divine beauty and delightful debauchery, that have a rare image any normal man would gladly evoke while embracing his lawful wife. I would love you and only you, which will make you despise me a little, as would any true woman. You probably don't think of yourself so highly. Fine. We'll live a normal married life. It won't be bad, rest assured. Believe it or not, he convinced her. As far as I know, they're still together. They have 3 kids. Anyway, past her, turn into a small alley. And on the right, and there you will see an angry-looking boy of about 6, with a small slingshot made of thick, light-colored rubber cut from a toy blimp. This boy, believe it or not, is me some 40 years ago. An unruly, empty head without a trace of poetry. I wrote my first verses out of pure nerve. I wanted to prove that a poet need not necessarily be a nerd or a bookworm. They were published in a school journal. That did it. The first time my name appeared in bold type, I understood that I wanted nothing more in the world than to see my name on the cover of a book. A moment later, without take note any provocation from you, a pile of maple and oak leaves at your feet will begin to swirl and buzz, as importantly as a humming top launched by a father's firm hand. If you listen to their concert, you will recognize the handiwork of master performers, those who would never consider providing the local population with entertainment without a signed contract guaranteed by an advance in the hard currency of golden assurances. In time, you'll understand that the sole purpose of this swirl is to give an idea of what a maple leaf is like when a ray of sun, thick and red from late autumn strains, strikes it from behind. After gazing at all this for a while, which would take anywhere between 2 minutes and 3 decades, walk around the flower bed at the rotunda with the green roof, where gleaming with brass of horns, tubas, trumpets, and belt buckles, the orchestra of a local trade school is playing. A school whose curriculum has only 2 subjects, the dactyl and the caesira. A little trochee and iamb are used for extracurricular activities, for relaxation, for whistling in a shower, or in the co-ed locker room of masculine and feminine rhymes. They crisscross easily and simply, since they despise all disciplinary action. Lightness and playfulness are solid qualities here, and at every moment they smear the overseers of regularity with tar and roll them in feathers. If you get past that place, you're practically there. I'll be sitting on a porch. Only no banality, please. Don't ask what I'm doing, because I'm always doing the same thing, whether chewing a firm Antonov apple, which for some reason the locals call Granny Smith, or watching my kitten jump, or playing at backgammon, chess, or love. I'm waiting. What for? You know, it apparently has something to do with a genetic prank of some kind, with a cell that not yet isolated in pure form. Nationality seems to have nothing to do with it. You may think that I'm Russian since I write in Russian, but I'm not. And I'm not Jewish, though I wish I were, because more suffering might have made my poetry better. I'm not Turkish either, though I have a Turkish grandma. At least that's what her neighbors say. She insists that she is Norwegian, 7/8 Norwegian, and that the other 8 is Tibetan Chinese. How come, the neighbors ask? What was a Chinese man doing in a fjord? Her only response is a smile. But if ethnic nationality is of essence, then I am an Indian, an Iroquois to be exact. We are unsociable forest tribe. A mysterious force bends my knees, brings my ear to the earth. This awkward pose, which makes normal people laugh, is the pose I strike when I wait, because I'm afraid to miss that rare moment when the wild boar, belly heaving, forces its way through the shrubs, and they cease rustling, when the wind ceases to knock the pine cones, when the birds stop scraping their claws on their branches, saving energy for their next flight. At this briefest pause in time, rushing intensely into unknown space, I sometimes manage to hear the sound of horses' hoofs, of a cavalry galloping in an unknown direction at the order of unknown person. All I can hear distinctly is clatter, a solid clatter that at so great distance is easy to confuse with the drumming of a shaman's finger on a giant tom-tom. Yet, seized with the blissful happiness, as clear as the freckles on the nose of my 3-year-old daughter, I see Flagstaff with an azure pennant torn by the wind from the hand of the head horseman, his little uniform jacket discolored from the sun, greenish-gray, wet from the sweat around his armpits. I see the profile of his face, so burned that pigmented continents swim on his cheeks, as on the face of a happily pregnant woman. I hear his spurs jingle lightly in time with his horse's movement. Fine spurs, though forged in an off moment by a rural blacksmith. I see the big artery on the horse's neck pulsing, and the young stallion rushing forward, his eyes shut in sadness, his ears laid back, galloping on unseen, blind, except to that part of the dusty steps on which he is about to tread. All that he hears is the fierce horsemen screech, urging themselves and their horses on. Yak, yer, yak. If you lose your way, call from a telephone booth with a small part. See you soon, I type. And another very small, short. This one is called, It's Not a Simple Thing. Why do you look at me, young man? You're probably wondering how come on a Sunday an old man is sitting in a cemetery wearing a big cap, hurrying nowhere and waving his foot back and forth. Yes, young man, it's strange. I'm surprised too. You remind me so much of myself some 60 years ago. Why have I such an impression? Because I see that you're unhappy, because you're not in love with anyone. But do you understand this? You're introduced to a girl, and well, you don't like her too much. You respect her, yes, but you don't love her, at least not the way we all want love when we're young. But how do you say such a thing? It's not a simple thing. You're delaying it and delaying it. Well, you say, I'll tell her the day after tomorrow. Okay, I'll tell her on Sunday. I'll do it after the concert in the city park. In short, you're dragging it out for such a long time that you learn from your parents that you're engaged. But you're an honest man. You want her to know that you, well, don't love her. Now, you vow to yourself that right before the marriage date, you won't be such a milksop anymore and you'll tell her everything. But it's not such a simple thing to tell a girl that you don't love her. Okay, you decide. I'll get married. And then inevitably, when there is no love, quarrels and fights will start and we'll get divorced. And that will be the end of the whole story. But imagine a crazy thing. You get married, you wait for quarrels, but there are none. None and none. You simply don't have a thing to argue about. Well, you as an honest man open your mouth to tell her, excuse me, my dear, but I don't love you. But you only open your mouth. It was she who had the say. We have to put off buying that new sofa. We're going to have a baby. A baby. Now, a new thing, now a baby. Now try to tell her what you're going to tell when she's already breastfeeding the baby. Tell her such a thing and her milk will dry up. The baby boy will be hungry. And is it really his fault that you don't love his mama? All right, you say to yourself, the baby doesn't feed from his mommy anymore, he's eating his cereal. But now, the baby has chicken pox. You have to keep your mouth shut until the baby gets well. And then you have to go to another business trip again, and when you come back from the business trip, you are told that soon you will be Papa again. To make it short, my young man, imagine that you are 83 years old, you have 7 children, 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter whose name is Masha. How can you live with a person and not to tell her the truth at last? You gather all your guts, finally go to her. But my young man, she's not feeling well. She's not a young person anymore. My young man, is dying. You ask her to forgive you and admit on her deathbed that, but she doesn't give you a chance. She smiles, nods with a happy face, and whispers, I always knew it. Now, do you understand, my young man? why every Sunday an old man sits in the cemetery in his old cap, doesn't hurry anywhere, and waves his foot back and forth. It's strange. It's very strange. I'm surprised myself, my young man. Thank you.
And Emil has some books for sale out in the lobby.
Right.
So